couple seconds for the internet to do the internet things, and then welcome everyone to episode 4 of the Level Up Your Wealth podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Marcus Howard. I'm joined by Mario. Mario, please say hello to everyone joining us live and listening to the audio version.
Yeah. What's going on, y'all? Hope all is well. Mario Payne, CFP here in Jacksonville, Florida, in beautiful Jacksonville, Florida. It's been a heat wave, so it's been hot. I've been practicing for 16 years, a certified financial planner, fiduciary. Just happy to continue to help people as the stock market keeps on going up, up, and up. So we're definitely happy about that.
Excellent, excellent. And thank you, everybody who's joining us live, Facebook, LinkedIn, everywhere, Twitter. If you want to give us a shout out so we know where you're coming from, please say something in the comments. Hit one of those emoji reactions so we know you're here. We appreciate your support. Without further ado, Vitaly, we want to welcome you to the podcast. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Vitaly. I'm game developer from Finland. Yeah. Thank you
so
very
you're
much.
what time is it now? 6 o'clock there, 5 o'clock there?
Yeah, 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always get the time zones messed up. So thank you for keeping the math, helping me math the math.
Yeah. It's great.
And you've been making games for how long now?
10 to 20 years. I don't have many games released because it takes a considerable amount of time making those games. Yeah.
So, yeah. When you say that, about for each of your main projects, like the one we're about to talk about, how much time does that take on average to make a quality game?
Yeah, sure. If you're doing like alone, like if you want to do a quality game alone, it can take like 4 years. For example, my previous project was 4 years. This one that I'm currently making, Aya Internet War, is like 1.5 years in making.
Wow. So let's kind of go through the process of that, because 4 years is a very long time, right? And for some people, that's like, after 6 months, like, okay, I'm done. Let me scratch this. So throughout a 4-year time period, what's the longest time period? Is it like the development? Is it creation? Like, kind of take us through the steps of developing an actual game, and what's usually the longest time period in that development.
Sure. So usually how it starts is that you like create a different prototypes. You have like gray boxing, basically. You have like gray cubes on scattered, and then you try to come up with some interesting mechanics.
Okay.
Then you like see what clicks. And if it clicks, for example, it maybe can take like few weeks or 1 month if you like found something interesting that you want to pursue. Then you start like, playing around with artistic style or like trying to come up with a theme. But it's also a project management, because for example, if you have like for example, specific like budget, like we don't live in vacuum, we need money to survive, right? So you need like to allocate how much time you have. And if you're doing like solo development, it's a lot of project management where you have to allocate how much time you can do like on prototyping, on like doing game design, art. Yeah.
Okay.
That's interesting. We have obviously Mario is a certified financial planner, and he talks a lot about budgeting. And so we were just having that conversation. I think every week that topic has come up. You're talking about budgeting as an investment of your time, representing or recognizing that your time represents money eventually.
Yeah. Yes. Usually what I would like to say, like off the bat, if like there's like aspiring game developers, is that you better like, if you haven't made any games, the best thing like to get into this industry is to have a day job, like a safety net. And then if you want to pursue game development career, like you do it like on the spare time, like for example if you have family when kids sleep.
Okay, all right. And then also, as we keep on going, hello to George, to Daniel from Chile. So we have an international flair to us today. And then also Julius, shouts out to you as well. So when it comes to a budget, right? So let's talk about creating a budget. Do you kind of know before you actually create the game how much it's going to cost, or when do you really know the exact cost? Is it kind of middle part, or like the latter part where, hey, it's some more things I got to pay for out of the budget? Like, when do you really know from a pinpoint standpoint how much developing a game is going to be?
Yeah, it usually comes with experience, but like for example, like if you're like programmer, you definitely will need like art art person who will do art. Maybe if you like want to share revenue with that person, then you will not need to account for that. But for example, if you like the single man and then you want to offload some development time, you will hire contractors. And basically when you're like budgeting, you have to pretty much account for that, and then like for example multiply it by 2 or 3 because of the unknowns that will come in future.
Wow, wow. So we don't want dollar amount, but percentage wise. So out of all the games that you've developed, like you set a budget of, let's say we know it's not $1,000, but let's just say it's $1,000. It ended up being 2,000, which is 100% more. Like, what was the highest percentage you think that you budgeted, and then actually from realization standpoint, where you actually completed the game, it cost that much more? Like, how much you think percentage wise that was?
Uh, Usually, it's always pretty much that you're running on a tight budget because, for
Okay.
example, you're working with publishers. If you like want to ask for extra money, that extra money will chip away from your revenue potential from the royalties that your game or game company will eventually get. So it's like delicate balance.
Okay. Okay.
Vitaly, can you talk a little more about that? The relationship between independent game developers and publishers. As you know, you and I talked, and I mentioned this to Mario before. I started my career working with indie studios, and my last company was solving indie game discovery. So I had the privilege to work with amazing developers around the world. A lot of them trying to chart their own path. Some of them trying to work with publishers, and so it was always kind of touch and go, trying to figure out where was the opportunity to work together. Because since they signed with publishers, I could not have really any meaningful business conversations with them. All those decisions kind of rested at the publisher.
Yeah, that depends on publisher because there's a lot of publishers who will want to creative control or take all aspects of the marketing, and then there's like different publishers that give you control and you're like pretty much open to do what you want. Usually uh, those reputable publishers who have a foothold into industry, like the best ones, for example Devolver Digital and Team 17 and so on, they're pretty I think it's pretty easy to work out with them if you have like a publishing agreement with them. But if it's somebody like new publisher who you don't know much about, it's going to be much more difficult because they will want to avoid a lot of risk because it's like their first game that they're publishing. So yeah.
Yeah. It's all about risk mitigation, I imagine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So when you create the games, do you kind of have in mind the publishers that you want to use, or do you kind of cycle through different publishers, or kind of how does that process work?
Yeah. So it depends a lot on games, like on a game what you're making, because different publishers have different portfolios, and there's also some type of games that just cannot be published by publishers because they have a lot of different like weird mechanics, let's say so, right? Because for publishers, like it's a lot of like in previously it was said that it's a lot about of risk mitigation. But for example, let's say that if you're a new developer and you want to make a new game and you want it to be published by some publisher, I think the first thing that you have to keep in mind is that these publishers get like hundreds of emails, pitches. So it's like
Mm,
very difficult in that sense to actually get published if your project doesn't like have something that unique that source.
mm.
And sometimes even if you want some publisher, like during the development you're making the game, and then you're like pitching this to the publisher, but he's like, we don't want to publish your game, sorry, maybe it's too soon in development, or we're like full for this year. Then you can try like again in 1 year if you want to have some specific publisher. That's also a very viable strategy because the publisher who you're trying to get will then see that you're committed to this project, so there's like less risk for them because you've been hustling for 1 year or 2 years.
That's very interesting. So let's take it a step further. So you're in year 3 of 4, designing, and you're implementing the game. How do you go through the process of who's going to actually buy that game from you? Like, is it a Is it a conversation you have with developers or individuals or larger companies? Is it that somebody just says, "Hey, I've heard that you're making this game"? Like, how does that process work for you to find actually companies that's going to buy the game from you?
You mean publishers who want to publish, or people who want to buy my game?
Yes, people who actually want to purchase the game.
Yeah. So that's a very good question, because there's Steam is like Steam. Like, if you want to sell your computer game, you have to go on Steam. It's like uh, it's like the best place.
Okay.
Other storefronts, they can't compete, and so basically it all comes down to algorithms that run on Steam who will see your game, so that the audience that wants to play your game is connected to your game. I think we can actually maybe talk more about then this Steam, because that's actually the key, conversation point on this question that you asked.
Okay, so let's dive into Steam. So first off, why do you think it's the? I know you talked about the algorithms, but we're not going to speak of any other game that you can play. But from a Steam standpoint, why do you think their platform is the best?
Yeah, because they've been in industry for so many years, and they like uh, I don't want to say monopoly really, but it's pretty much like de facto platform. If you want to have your game played, you will have to go on Steam, because people don't want to download some additional launcher to where they can download games. They already have Steam. It's like content delivery platform basically. You upload bills, and it's like automatically uploads into the players who have your game. And then it's also a marketing platform. Is that if you bring traffic to your Steam store page, the Steam algorithm will actually promote your game on Steam platform. So basically, it's like uh, kind of self-feeding loop.
Okay, okay. So what are some? I mean, you don't got to give away your secret sauce, but
Not really
what,
that close.
so, but what are some things that a person that has created a game that they want to put on Steam? What are some things that they can do that can lead the algorithm headed to their marketplace compared to another marketplace? What are some things that you do from a marketing standpoint that drives people, towards your marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really a secret. It's really more about, like, for example, contacting YouTubers, Twitch streamers who play games. For example, if you're making a platformer game, right? Uh, you will have want to contact streamers and YouTubers who play platformer games. But for example, but when you're making game, you also need to understand what people want to play. Like, something that was popular 10 years ago might not be popular now. And for example, on Steam, for example, if you want to make platformer game, it's not going to be that easy to get popularity, because it's like the first game that people want to make a platformer. So
The
really, I think,
market saturated, right?
yeah. And actually, uh, it's actually, the tools are pretty accessible. You can like develop a game. They became very accessible. Anyone can make a game. But this created a side effect, is that there's a lot of games coming out on Steam, for example, or on in game industry in overall, like 100 new games every day. And like, you're making a new game, like uh, how will you tell algorithm that your game is the game? And that's really where probably the traditional marketing will go, is that you need to drive traffic to your Steam store page.
And that was literally, that was the same experience my brother and I had. So we were making a video game 10 years ago, a puzzle game with some RPG mechanics.
Mm.
And we had the game design document. We had done some high level concepts of gameplay mechanics, doing some level design. And through that process, before we started actually writing code, we wanted to make sure to validate there was demand for this unique combination. And we'll get to your game here very shortly, but unique combination of the game we're putting together. And then we learned, I think 2013 was the year that Steam had removed or introduced the paywall, right? Instead of having kind of their manual review process, anybody who paid 99 bucks could ship a game. You saw that the volume of games on Steam almost exponentially grow over the last 10 years. Not maybe not
Yeah.
exponentially, but sharply grow the last 10 years. And as a result, like you said, game discovery, which was already a pretty big problem, became a massive problem. Mario, 75% of all the games, released in the global gaming industry come from independent game developers, small businesses like, Vitaly's company. And,
Wow.
and so we had to make the decision to actually stop working on our game because we didn't have a marketing budget. And so we wanted to solve game discovery, hopefully fix that organically, so that we then could come back to our game, and we just haven't 10 years later haven't quite gotten there yet. But that's a long-term goal for us. So I definitely feel your pain there.
Yeah,
That's that has to be very tough for an independent gamer if literally 100 different games, different thought process of a game, different marketing from a game standpoint is being released on a platform that you're on every single day.
yes,
Um, and I guess basically that comes to the point of like using YouTubers. So let's talk about that because definitely definitely 10 years ago, the whole streaming, the Twitch, the kids watching people play games like that industry has just exploded. So talk to us about the importance of finding those YouTubers, finding those individuals with the audience already that leads them to your marketplace.
yeah. So I think like secret sauce, like it's not really a secret sauce, but like what you want to do, like if you're a developer, is that you want to release a game demo of your game and like put it on Steam to download, because it's all about algorithm and streamers and YouTubers. Because for example, say you have a demo on your store page, and Steam algorithm, there's like this section on Steam that shows like free to play or like demos, and your game will get like a lot of visibility from that. And if your game is good, uh, you will get some little bit of visibility. But what you actually want is that you want some big YouTuber or streamer like see your store page and see that there's demo. Maybe he will play it, find it fun, and then like create a YouTube video, and like
Mm.
bam, your game became popular because some big YouTuber played. And if we're talking about solo developer, he really didn't do much marketing other than put the demo. Somebody could say that it's luck, maybe yes, but for example, the demo was up maybe 6 months or like 1 week or 12 months, and then during that period, your chance of getting like discovered by somebody who streams for YouTube's like grows.
And that's
Wow.
the same thing that happened with Among Us, right? That game had launched, I think, in 2018, and it
Yeah,
basically unplayed. People were playing it, but generally speaking, it was unknown for 2 years. Obviously, the pandemic hit; everybody was spending a lot of time at home, and then I believe some YouTuber in Brazil picked it up, and it kind of snowballed from there. So exactly as Vitaly's saying, your game could go undiscovered, but you have to. That's an important part of a game developer's go-to-market strategy, is that visibility from streamers.
yeah, and I don't want marketing is bad, because what Mario asked initially, I really a bit avoided. But if I want to answer to Mario's original question, really, is like you use some tools that give you like sense what people play on Twitch, and then you try to contact like a streamer who plays like kind of similar games like yours. You like put a GIF in email and then send a few CD keys and hope that he tries the game,
Mm.
like resonates with him.
Yeah. Now, so for a person who wants to go through that process from a subscriber standpoint, what is like the sweet spot when it comes to the YouTuber subscribers? Are you looking for a person that has 5,000 subscribers? That's probably more reachable. Are you looking for a person that has 100,000, 500,000 subscribers that might not be as reachable, but if you get in contact with them, that's going to really drive numbers? Like, kind of what's the you know kind of what's the sweet spot when it comes to subscribers for individuals that are YouTube in the game?
Mm, I, I I don't have really like set number. It really comes down to what content they play and how they interact with their community. I mean, sure, if you don't have much time, maybe the best like course of action is just like generate 5 different emails, personalize them, and then reach like the best YouTubers, because that's probably going to be the best value for your time investment on your marketing endeavor.
Mm.
So since we're on the page now on the topic of Steam, I'd love to learn more about IH, Internet War.
Sure.
So we were going to do an exclusive look at the game. Thank you for being so generous to send me the CD key. Like I was saying earlier, I was up at 1:30 in the morning, and I had to remind myself that I have work to do, so I have to stop playing. Even though part of play is work for me, but it was hard to put the game down. But unfortunately, my laptop is not a gaming PC, so it was doing all it could to like play the game and do this. So we'll have to do a video and share it out later. But since we have this page up, if you don't mind, I'd like to play the trailer and then learn a little bit more about your inspiration for the game, because I think the timing for this, given what's happening in society, couldn't be better. You mentioned like seeing what people are playing. It's almost like you had a crystal ball. That's how perfectly aligned this is.
Yeah. All right.
Let me do that. And before we do that, again, this is the Level Up Your Wealth podcast, proudly supported and sponsored by the gamers at Tomes Financial. You can see at the bottom here the scrolling marquee. Go to bit.ly/levelupyourwealth or www.tomesfinancial.com to see and look at the top right corner to see Level Up Your Wealth, to get some financial literacy advice from Mario, and then book a no-cost consultation. So without further ado, let me get this played so we can all see it. And then again, want to learn more about your thought process behind this.
Yeah.
Trailer begins now. IAH Internet War is a roguelite RTS game. Everything is happening on the internet. You are a hacker, and you need to save the world. You discover websites and then you try to capture them. Actions you perform trigger response, kind of like in a turn-based game. You then battle and consider your next action based on the outcome of the battle. Combat has time control function. First battle was easy, and we got a level up. And then some mandatory difficulty modifiers, to make things spicy. This will be hard. You are at a disadvantage. You need to pay utilities bill and taxes soon, but you don't have enough money. What will you do? And the enemy is attacking with overwhelming force. Your baby is also crying, and the wife wants to eat. She can't cook. You see those modifiers at the top left corner? You took them. You made the enemy stronger. Lucky you did not pick cancer modifier. It was an option, you know. There is also a separate sandbox mode where you can just spawn different units. But the crown jewel is, will you succeed in your ultimate hacking mission, and will you survive all the crap that the game will throw at you? And throw it will. Projectiles, lots of different ones, crowd control bots, tanks, healers, you name it, different compositions, sometimes extremely overpowered, but that's fun. As you play, you will unlock new bots for yourself too. Demo available this year. Wishlist Haya, Internet War. If you want to see this combat platform on Steam, do it. Wishlist.
So that's the demo. Again, we're going to go back to the Steam page so you can see that. And I posted a link in the chat for those of you who are on LinkedIn to go find. You can look it up on Steam. It's IAH Internet War. And I did, again, play it for about 30 minutes this morning, and I was blown away by the audio. Like, the music was amazing.
Yes.
The hacking experience was cool. So definitely, again, want to hear more about it from you.
Yeah. So I first have to ask, like, did you how did you come up with the music? Because like the music and the flow of the game, it just it hits you.
Yeah.
Sometimes you game like the music's like, oh, this kind of weird. This doesn't fit. But like the music fitted, the battles and what we saw. So how did you come up with the music?
Yeah. So I use freelancers, but I listen a lot of music. Like every day, maybe I can listen for like 30 minutes for different music tracks, and then I contact musicians, and then I ask them to work with me, for example. So basically it's pretty much like always learning, listening, trying to find hidden talent, and then like trying to figure in your head what composition or combination of music and art could work, like evoke some new experiences for a player.
Okay. And then and I would imagine that's an AI voice talking, or is that like about your modified voice?
That's actually AI.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the future. That's the future. So, like, how did that process go to kind of pick that? Do you use a freelancer as well, or do you use some of the sites like 11 Labs and some of the other sites to kind of pick that voice?
Well, there's these AIs are really like a voice generation. It's like computer generated. Like you can even like use like free ones and then use some music editing software and put different filters and adjust pitches or frequencies.
Wow. Now,
Yeah.
when you did your first game 10 years ago, did they have that software like they have now? I would
No,
imagine.
no. And actually, when I look at my first game, I'm like, yeah, like uh, things have progressed.
Yeah, because I would think from that front, I'm not gonna say easier, but it's probably quote unquote easier, to have those tasks done, because of AI and that type of software compared to when you made your first game 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So
That's
I,
awesome.
I want to make sure we capture some of the questions. This is great so far. We had a question come in from Kai. He said, great podcast. So thank you for your support, Kai. He wants to know what specific financial advice does Vitaly have for aspiring indie game developers? And then again, after you answer that, want to learn about your inspiration for the game.
Okay. First, I suppose disclaimer: I'm not a financial advisor, but I think having a day job is like very important. Like when you're trying to start your game development career, because it can be very unforgiving. Like you're creating something for many years, and then maybe like it will not pay out. Like if you don't have a job or security net, then you're like screwed.
Yeah, and I would actually second that. I mean, of course, being a certified financial planner, right? I have a lot of clients that want to start businesses. I have clients that are trying to start a game, and to your point, you definitely want to have that. You want to make it a side hustle, before you really kind of get rocking and rolling. Typically when a person starts city business, I recommend you want to have 3 to 6 months of kind of cash from emergency savings uh, in your account, just because to your point, you have budgets, you have to pay people, even if it's a tight budget, things happen. So it's good to kind of have 3 to 6 months of just kind of cash or bills in your checking account, which we call an emergency savings account. But yeah, to your point, though, you definitely want to have that revenue coming in from a primary income source or a primary job.
Yeah. And I also want to add that there's a lot of like in our industry sometimes when they see like, oh, for example, somebody's making a game and some big Twitter account retweeted, liked, and commented, and then people are like liking, and you're like might get actually this sense that your game like is going to be special, and then but then when you release the game, it actually might not sell because there are people who were like liking just the cute dog that is in your game, not the actual game. So like usually like when working with data, you have to be careful. Like, is this like now go time? Do I need to invest more time and I can take the risk like doing maybe this full time or not? And really like side hustle, I would say, if you're a beginner.
Yeah, yeah. And from like a Twitter and social media standpoint, I've been always told by different marketers like Marcus Esports Howard that likes is one thing and that's great, but it's the engagements that really move the needle, right? I mean, it's very easy for us to just hit a heart, hit a thumbs up and like it, but it's an extra step when we actually type in something and then we see a comment and then reply and continue. So from a marketing standpoint, I think you can probably see better traction on how your game is doing and what people think about it by the actual engagements in the comments, not just the thumbs up and the likes.
That's correct, but there's also this kind of thing is that certain games don't perform well on certain social medias because of the demographics that are there. Like for example, if you like think on your behavior, how you use Twitter, maybe you're doom scrolling, maybe not, but usually you're like scrolling and you see something beautiful, you want to look at it. But if you're like you're not going to stop at the game that is like just feels good, like maybe it doesn't look good, but it feels good when you're actually playing, and you can't really like translate that to the like Twitter, for example.
Mm. Yeah, that's true. And now we talk about Twitter. Now they have Threads, which in 5 days had 100 million new users, more than Twitter did in almost 15 years. So for
Oh,
social industry standpoint, you definitely have to hop on the new trends anyway.
Yeah, it's not available in Finland yet.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's only US.
Oh, Zuckerberg. Yeah. He's putting that carrot in everybody's face,
Of
right?
course.
You got to expand your team. Get you a part-time, and join your team and be part of a US division.
Yeah. That's
Anybody who
interesting.
wants an internship, Biddley's on LinkedIn. Reach out to him. So you say you've been working on this a year and a half, right?
Yeah.
This particular game. So it sounds. I guess let me take a step back. How much longer do you think is in your full development timeline? Or if you don't want to share that answer,
Sure.
do you think that your development timeline for this game is going to be shorter than your last game, which you said was about 4 years?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be shorter because 4 years, like I had a very ambitious project, and 4 years was a lot. This one is really going to be released next year. I'm like have few more features to make, and then it's only content and quality assurance and localization. I wanted to do something small, but even so, it takes time.
Yeah.
This does not look like a small game. Well, let me say that differently. So last week I had downloaded, I think it was Tekken, and it was like 80 gigabytes on my computer. I had to delete a whole bunch of videos from my previous podcast to make that work. And then so I was surprised when I saw the compared size. I think yours is like right at 700 megs or a gig.
Yeah, 700 megs. I mean, 3D assets and textures can take, hard space.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of like gameplay, like mechanics and scope, it's a lot smaller game than my previous game.
Okay.
Like when you played the game, you probably understood the idea and what you have to do, and it's pretty much that. Where previous games had different things that you needed to play hours to get new features or new content.
Yeah, I was able to jump right in. I couldn't beat like the first website because every time I started spawning my own bots, then I triggered like the virus response.
Yeah.
So that was a surprise, I'll say the least.
Yeah. And actually, I want to, and again, this is a great game. I do want to piggyback on the question we had about YouTubers in that space, right? So I circle back to the famous story about 50 Cent. I don't know if you're familiar with 50 Cent. He's a popular rapper in the 2010s. Find Me in the Club. So he was approached by a company called Vitamin Water to basically promote their vitamin water, and
Okay.
they was going to give him money, like to kind of do the commercials. He said, you know what? I don't want the upfront money. I want a piece of the company. Let me get a piece of the company stock, and then exchange. I'll do the promotion. So he didn't know this, but then 5 years later, Vitamin Water got bought out by Coca-Cola, and 50 Cent overnight made like $80 million overnight. So as you talk to to the YouTubers, as you hire them, are they kind of thinking that way, where they want like a piece of the game or a piece of the profits, or do they usually just want the kind of upfront money? Then they kind of go by their way?
There's a lot of big YouTubers, at least in gaming industry, like in indie side. They really love their community and game development community, and I think it's actually pretty, at least for indie developer, pretty horrible if YouTuber will do video of your game that you've been making for years, like for 5% of revenue share. That's, I think, very unjust, because your game is content. Like for him, you're creating content that he can use to entertain his community, for example. So I think in this scheme, at least I think that's not really a good idea to give away revenue share for YouTube views.
That's it's interesting, right? Because from this is a great conversation, because like from a business standpoint, a lot of business owners like kind of like you get into business, they like the revenue sharing, but it looks like from a gaming standpoint, that's frowned upon, because this is more like your art, your creation. So you want to kind of keep all the profits compared to helping share revenue.
Yeah, at least like for example, game development or art, you're getting royalties like for the work, for all the sweat that you put in the game, and like how do you measure the contribution of one video versus like years of your work? Because it's difficult question, of course, because you need to market to get your product out, but you also don't want to give away too much.
We're obviously, not obviously, but ironically, we're seeing that same question in the esports space, right? There's a big rift right now of esports organizations saying they're not getting a share of the pie, right? They're doing the marketing, but and in some cases are putting a bunch of dollars in to support teams to market a game, right? So if you have a slot for Call of Duty or Overwatch, you may be paying anywhere from $10 to $25 million, for a franchise spot. They've rolled some of that back here recently. But a lot of teams are saying we're investing in and like you're absorbing all of the revenue and we're absorbing all of the marketing expense. So it's great to hear from your perspective. I can definitely see it from your perspective that it's not an even balance. And like you said, you're trying to find the right solution. And so hopefully in the indie scene, we'll start to see some of that and it might inspire a bit of change in the AAA side.
I think my game is like not in Call of Duty, like it's still in infancy. But I think in terms of like esports, I think like if, for example, if a game wants to do like esports, maybe like allocate like from the revenue, like when your game is getting revenue, allocate certain percentage for the esports like operations and use those funds, for example, to fund your YouTubers or streamers or those esports organizations. I think maybe
give them a slice of the pie, right? It's a win-win. They're investing. And they want to generate revenue.
When you actually have a product, like not before like that.
Right.
That's a very good conversation. Now, so from an opportunity standpoint, right? So, what do you think a game like this, your game, the biggest opportunity is? Like, so I know you have a set demographic, so let us know kind of what the set demographic is. But an area of opportunity that you think individuals or communities, aren't playing games like this is an area of opportunity for you. What do you think that would be?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have actually 3 defined demographics. First one is definitely as team players who like real-time strategy games, but the second one is programmers, because I don't know if you scrolled my page, Steam page. I have like competitive module in this game is that programmers can program these bots and then compete against others like a hacker. Basically, it all comes down to the future take on demographics who can know about the programming, who just want to play single player game, and then those programming skills, behaviors for these robots. Now, third demographic is actually advert, because this is official internet, like it's happening on the like for playing.
So that's from an advertising standpoint. Advertising dollars will always come if it's the right fit. So, so part 2, kind of explain that revenue from a programmer standpoint. So, so as we have people that are programmers, that they might want to get involved, want to help with their services. Go over the revenue and kind of how that would work for a programmer.
Yeah, so the way I envision, this esports is that it's algorithmic esports where programmers program these bots. But the catch is that you need API access, and this API access it costs money. And when these programmers compete against each other, the programmer who loses will lose his API license, and the winner take his API license. Now, me as admin, I will be taking 30% revenue cut, and the other goes to the programmer who defeated that. It's pretty much high stakes, competitive programming, combat, where like money is at stake. And yeah.
was to say like competitive racing, like street racing for pink slips, right?
Yeah.
It reminds me of Fast and the Furious, but for coding.
Yeah. Because coding, I mean, coding is fun, but it's not cool to watch.
It's
Yeah.
not. It's like watching paint dry.
Yeah. So I'm like thinking, what if I create a product that anyone can enjoy, and when it gets enough traction, popularity, deploy this multiplayer layer so that programmers can compete and then entertain those others.
Now that's a great idea. I don't know about having my API taken away from me. So that means I gotta train up some before I get into a competition.
Yeah, but
But
that's like taken away in a battle, not when you're training. You can
yeah,
train safely, but when you want to compete, if you lose, they will, the other guy will take your license away. It's
Is
pretty
this
much like like hackers competing against each other. Failure is like revoke, like you have to start from beginning.
is this cat image what you're describing as potentially like a banner
Yeah,
opportunity for an
yes,
advertiser?
yes, and you can click it and it pops up, and I can have
Mhm.
like videos, links.
wow,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw that, but like I said, I had the virus response happening, and I was just in panic mode, so I didn't have a
Yeah.
chance to really appreciate all the effort you put into that.
Yeah.
yeah. No, that's definitely a great revenue model. I mean, it would be great if I was if I was an advertiser, if I was a marketer from a gaming standpoint, and I could have my link right there where you can click it. I think that's also embedded in.
Yeah, it's all about long tail, like because the games can live for many years, but
Mm,
YouTube video too. But for example, stream or some tweet, it's like after its use, it's no longer pretty much relevant.
Mhm.
For
yeah.
example, if like for example you're a game developer and you want to integrate your game within my game, and when I do that, your people who play my game will be exposed to your game, and then if they like what they see, they will buy it.
Mm,
So it's like
yeah.
because usually when you have advertising like big YouTube video, it's like big spike and then it goes down. So this is pretty much the baseline period.
Now, will this be able to be integrated with Apple Vision? As we know, Apple Vision is coming out. It's supposed to, to take over the AR, kind of space. I haven't actually put one on. I would love to. So Tim Cook, if you're watching this, please, hit me up. But just how immersive it is. Is this compatible to that, or you think you'll be able to
Mm,
have it compatible?
I'm planning like releasing this on PC and then hopefully on consoles and Nintendo Switch.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Will
okay,
you
okay.
be considering kind of interoperability when you do that, right? So people who are playing on PC can play against
Yeah,
people who are on
play
Switch.
the game with controller.
Okay.
So it's like been designing it from the ground up so that you can use pretty much any input method and it will work.
Have you considered potentially releasing this into like the education space? 2 weeks ago, we spoke to Matthew, who has education kind of business simulation to teach you accounting and typing and other kind of traditional business concepts through a gamified interface. We definitely see this as an assignment, like a fun assignment for a programming class, or like intro into computer science or whatever. Have you considered doing that as well?
No, I'm actually first time hearing about this, so yeah, I don't have like opinion on that.
No
But
problem.
sounds cool. I mean, education is important. Like,
Yeah. And I say it's first time for everything. In any way you can promote and receive revenue, I think that's always a good idea. So,
mhm.
so this is your fourth or fifth game that you've created.
uh, third commercial, third
Third one.
commercial game. Yeah.
Okay. Now, of course, this is your favorite because this is your newest one. But the first commercial or the second commercial, which one do you feel better about? Like like that would be your go-to. Is it the first one
It's,
because that was your first commercial baby,
well,
or the second one because I'm pretty sure you was able to do it quicker and have less kinks as the first
yeah, it's always the latest. Uh,
one?
but I also update my first game too. It's like over 10 years old, and it still has players. So I'm like doing fan service and updating that game, once in a while with bug fixes or new content.
Wow. So a game that you released 10 years ago, you are
Yeah, over 10
still
years ago. It's Pixel Piracy. It's a pirate simulator game.
okay.
And that's
Yeah.
actually the first module in the game. That's so when you're playing the
Yeah,
game. I saw the
yeah,
web. I recognize that.
yeah. And the cool thing is that when you're playing this Ajax game, you will see Pixel Piracy advertised, and you can create Pixel Piracy cannon bots that will fight against viruses.
Yep.
Wow. 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 So I know this is called internet war. Where do you see the internet? Because again, we have AR that's coming out. Where do you see the internet in 5 or 10 years? Do you think the internet's going to be more kind of immersive? Where do you see the internet going?
Uh, I mean, that there's definitely different ideas, but my idea, like on the internet, is just it's going to grow, and big companies will become bigger. They will absorb those smaller companies. There's going to be different social medias. AI will advance, and there's going to be a lot of creators who will be able to utilize these tools to create some new interesting things.
Hmm. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and
Nah.
that's the theory behind the game, right? There's a global conglomerate corporation who's trying to take
Yeah,
over the internet, and so
so
it's like freedom fighting, I think.
yeah, the bad guy in this game is called Zender Corporation, and they have this idea of installing government AI that will ruin the world. And the catch is that they have a backdoor, so they will try to do population control, whatever they come up with through this backdoor. And you're like a hacker, and your job is to stop them. And one interesting thing in this game is that there's like over 30 different hackers, and when you start the game, you can choose which hacker you take. But as you play, this Zender Corporation will hire those different hackers, and sometimes you will have to fight those hackers that you could choose and to play with, and they all have different skill sets, and that's where the replayability comes in this game.
Wow. Wow. Oh, corporation. So the corporation hires the hackers to try to defeat another hacker, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
That sounds about right. That sounds about right. That's cool. So going through the game, is it more to kind of be guided? Is it more words where we have to read, or is it that AI voice that kind of walks us through as we're playing the game?
In terms of tutorial, I want the game to be very approachable, but I don't want to do hand holding. So it's pretty much trying to be as precise and coherent as possible. Like try to do those soft cues, like you have to click here, but if you really should click here, for example, and then there, and then after you play it for one playthrough, you pretty much maybe I hope you will understand what the game is trying to do and how you can become better. Like click different things maybe next time, because you know what will happen.
Okay, okay, okay. So yeah, so
Yeah,
I know we have.
it took me like 5 minutes to get connected to the internet the first time, and then when I played it the second time, I immediately connected to the internet. I had to hit the dial up tone, right? I was
Yeah,
immediately
yeah,
dial up.
yeah.
Yeah, that
It's
was
like,
internet 20 years ago, right? Dial
yeah,
up. That
I
was
mean,
that was
it will be interesting to do some, user research. Like, do you recognize this sound?
yeah, yeah. That oh man, that boy, those days sucked, man. Like just do. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
And then like a floppy disk, putting it in, and I remember it was like a old school golf game I played with my dad, uh, 20, 25 years ago, and it was like just the graphics were the worst. But like you had to have different floppy disks for each hole. It's like one hole you had to put in a disk. Then when you're done, it said disk 2 of 8, and you had to put another one in. It was like, oh, this. I mean, back then it was great because on a computer it was something new, but now it's like, how the heck did I even play that game? It just it make any sense. Like, yeah. So then like if I lose a disc, I can't go from the fourth hole to the fifth hole. So now my whole game is screwed. Just technology has definitely came a long way, a very long way.
That's true. I mean, digital rights management now, or data or entertainment is in cloud. Like, what happens if they pull the plug? Will you own your games or entertainment? For example, Disney Plus, Netflix. What will happen to all those? But in old time, you had these discs, DVD discs. You had them. It was yours.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Everything's in the cloud. So talking about the cloud, I know we have a few more minutes left. So I always ask your stock. So if you have a favorite stock, because of course I'm a certified financial planner, right? This is Level Up Your Wealth. So we definitely want to educate people, which you've done a great job, how to market your game, how to sell your game, how to advertise. But from an investment standpoint, if you had one stock, one go-to stock, what would that be?
Microsoft.
Microsoft. All right. So
playing it safe.
let me share my screen here. Let's look at some Microsoft and see what Microsoft is doing. All right, so this is the S&P 500. Today is up. It has been rocking and rolling. But let's look at Microsoft though. What is Microsoft at? Ooh, look at that. So this is a chart, right? So
Yeah.
from 1992, when Microsoft was, a couple dollars. Now, if we look, Microsoft, man, is at its all-time high.
Crazy.
Microsoft has never been higher. $360 a share. And it's crazy because if we look, literally as the market went down, right? And because we have ups and downs of the market, let's make this a little bit bigger. Bigger. What are you doing, Mario? What you doing? What you doing? All right, so we'll get out of this. Hold on. What you doing, trying to do? You don't want me to use you? All right, so it just kind of talks about over time how investments go up and down. Look at that. Microsoft was down by 40%, literally 18 months ago, right? So when the market kind of had its peak November 21, it went down and it went down to $204 a share. So then from October 2022 to now, not only has it grown as we get out of this again, TradingView just does not want me to use them at all. But as you can see from its low to now, it is at 70%. So literally, if I bought Microsoft literally 9 months ago, I had a 70% return compared to if I bought it 18 months ago, I'm just breaking even though it's at all-time highs. Are you familiar with the merger that finally 3 years later got approved between Microsoft and Activision Blizzard?
Yeah. Was it finally approved?
Finally, yes. So the court said yes, they can go through with it. Now, it's been going on for like 3 years, so it might be some more roadblocks, but I think for gamers, it's gonna be great because they have access to more cloud in Microsoft. So
Yeah.
but let me give you guys y'all hear my dog? Man, come on, Brent, what you doing? My dog hacking over here. One more thing from a Microsoft standpoint. So Microsoft has this stock that you can buy, but also if you guys want to get a little bit risky, again, as a certified financial planner, high risk, you might make some more money, but you might lose money. But Microsoft actually has a ETF that's leveraged, right? MSFU, right? So this is 1.5% of Microsoft. So if Microsoft goes up by 1%, this investment goes up by 1.5%. So if Microsoft goes up by 100%, this goes up by 150%. On the flip side, if Microsoft goes down by 10%, then you lose 15%. So for a person that wants to, and this is newer investments world, came out about a year ago, and look at that, just sky high. So as Microsoft has been going up, this, my friends, has went up, and there you have it, right? Microsoft is up basically 70% from its low. It's about 104%. So if a person likes Microsoft, they want to get into Microsoft, but they want a little bit more juice, they want a little bit more growth, then they might want to look at MSFU as a way to be in Microsoft, but also if Microsoft continues to go up, kind of have some juice and go up a little bit more. So that, Vitaly, is a great pick when we talk about Microsoft. We cannot go wrong with Microsoft.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I know we're running a little bit short on time here, so wanted to give you an opportunity to share any parting thoughts you had, any more advice, or for sure, share more whatever updates you want to share about the game. I know I see on your Steam page you got the demo coming soon. I know we have early access here, but when can people be ready to play the demo and give you feedback? How can they support your success?
Yeah, pretty much, playing the demo and giving feedback is all I ask at this point. It's a journey, like.
And you have a Twitter? I know that obviously you're on LinkedIn. That's how we connected. On Twitter,
I don't really use the Twitter that much. It's pretty much this Steam store page that's really pretty much relevant for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Times have changed. I know that Twitter used to be a mainstay for game developers.
It's for certain games, but certain games are like, if they get their demo out, they will blossom. Like.
Mm-hmm. So hence to your point earlier, why that platform is so important. If people are not using Twitter no more and they're going to Steam, and that just checks the box of why it's so important.
I mean, there's a lot of different things, but for example, I don't know if you guys played, for example, Red Alert or Command Conquer back in today, like these hard RTS games, and RTS game, for example, on Twitter is pretty much difficult if you don't have very cool, cute graphics. So for me, it's really about demo and then outreach to those YouTubers and Twitch streamers to get that spark, so that the Steam algorithm will pick the game up.
Do you have a website, or is it just a Steam page? I know you're going to probably say go to the Steam page, but is there another website people can learn more about it as well?
I have a website. It's vitalikirpu.net.
Okay.
Yeah. It's my name and then .net.
Okay. Excellent.
And I would imagine also from there that they can probably check out the other games that you've made as well, correct?
Yeah. Thanks.
All about marketing, right?
Yeah.
So thanks for your time again, Mario. If you want to let everybody know where they can find you, obviously we got the website, tomesfinancial.com. Before we leave, we want to pick a winner for digital copies of both of our books. So if you don't mind doing that as well, please.
So I don't have access to the LinkedIn
feed. That's right.
Yeah.
So let
so
me
you
do
can
that.
pick for me.
We're going to pick Kai. He asked that great question about financial advice for indie game developers. So thank you for being part of the conversation. Thanks for everybody for joining us. He asked one of the questions here. So if you all want an opportunity to win a digital copy of Mario's book and my book, again, every week there's an opportunity. Just send us some questions, whether you want financial advice or advice from our guests like we have from Vitaly today. You have that value and the opportunity to win even more value. So that's the plug for that. Again, Mario, where can people support you and learn more about financial literacy?
Yeah, so definitely our website, www.tomesfinancial, so TOAMS Financial. Or definitely just look me up on Instagram, Painful Profits, PAYNEFUL Profits. Our profits, we like to make money. Sometimes they're painful. So Painful Profits. That's our Instagram. That's our YouTube channel as well, Painful Profits, or Instagram or Threads, Tomes Financial. You can check us out there as well.
Awesome. So thank everybody for joining us today. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, our schedule's in line with Don Daglow this week, but he's an Emmy award-winning game developer. So we look forward to having that conversation with him. He's been in the industry 40 years, so he's got a lot of context to add. But thanks again, Vitaly, for sharing your vision behind this game, the gameplay. Like I said, I tried the demo, and I'm probably going to play it again when I don't have to do streams, so I can focus on trying to navigate all the stuff that's happening on the screen. But it's a wonderful experience, amazing music. The theme, like I said, is spot on. So we wish you the best of luck. Anything we can do to help you, feel free to let us know.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you all. We'll see you next week.
Bye bye.
Peace.